Greetings and welcome once again to another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. Voted in a series of Top 10 Worst of's most respected journals as the top worst of lists 10 out of the last 12 years. I'm your host for today's endeavor. My name is Lee Coli, and I've got a lot of important stuff. I think that this is going to be, this time that we spent together is going to be spectacular. And I've got one of the most amazing, unforgettable, resplendent top 10 worst lists in all of Christendom. I'm talking about top 10 worst jerkoffs versus sellouts. It's going to be an interactive game. I'm going to read a series of despicable, dehumanized sellouts. And you at home have an opportunity to guess whether each of those creepy, monstrous, no good nicks are a jerkoff or a sellout. And won't that be fun? I think together we're going to form a life bond. I'm so for serious. Before we get to that, I want to level with you. I'm going to be honest with you so that we can have, establish some simpatico together. I'm going to make the first move and let you know that I'm not one of those partisan hacks. I'm not in it for anything reason other than just do it. I see my country's in trouble. My country needs a swift kick in the behind, and I'm just the creepy, fuzzy, fringe element guy to do it. But I will say that, shrouded in fervor for and a liberating enlightenment for all our society at large, I might get some of the I's crossed and the T's dotted. Maybe it's just a little bit not always so perfect. So if you think that stuff that I'm putting out there, laying out there, it's not because I've got an agenda, a secret agenda. Ooh, I want to brainwash other people that are watching this mostly irrelevant collection of nonsense mixed with really actually very, very salient political points and biting satire. People are going to see but look up this stuff if you don't believe me. For Christ's sakes. Put in a lot of effort. Just do some of that elbow grease. Are you going to let those freaks from the 1940s keep on calling themselves the greatest generation forever and just they've thrown down the gauntlet? What have you done with the gauntlet lying there right in front of your stupid ass? You're sitting there, I'm going to pick my nose, pick my ass, and sniff. Pick my nose with this one, pick my ass with this one, and sniff to see which ones get the better sniffs. I'm laying down a different gauntlet. I'm laying down the gauntlet saying that you need to be the greatest generation. Those greatest generation hacks calls themselves Peter Jackson, what else? Peter, that guy, ABC, freaking hair helmet guy on the news, called the 40s people the greatest generation. We're going to prove him wrong together. All of us. That greatest generation sucked anyway. That was 3 years of heavy lifting. A good heavy lifting, but still only 3 years. I mean, let's be honest. The Russians did the most of the heavy lifting. But you don't have Russians kicking the German army's ass, it all goes south very quickly. Irregardless, and I'm saying irregardless, knowing that irregardless has not been officially recognized by those Webster's Dictionary, Jerkoffs, Oxford Dictionary, elitist snobs, won't recognize irregardless as a word when everybody knows what you're talking about when you say irregardless. Okay? So I gotta say regardless. Regardless kind of sounds empty. Irregardless sounds more apropos. So I'm calling out the guys in the ivory towers and everything like that, saying, give up. I mean, give us irregardless. What the hell's wrong with you? Well, give us a rat's ass if it's not per your dictionary. I ain't got never mind for your value system. So, irregardless of what anybody thinks about whatever it was I was talking about that I totally forgot in my irregardless side rant. What was I even talking about? World War. Yeah, right after World War One, two. Right after World War Two. Oh, the Greatest Generation. What did they do after that? Went to sleep. Look, let me tell you something. World War II didn't end with the end of hostilities. World War II continued because all the people that fronted all the cash to build the Wehrmacht and the Autobahns and take Germany from being a 30% unemployed nation to 0% unemployment and gave them all those modern weapons and told them to go, you got to wipe out communism because it's a threat to capitalism, and you need to get back at those Ruskies because they killed off a bunch of, noblemen who were related to the Windsor family, and then you got to, kill us up a whole mess of Jews in Eastern Europe on your own way to kick Russia's ass. And a lot of things got crossed up, but you definitely have, a lot of unexplained things, but the predominant liturgy on the whole build up to World War II. Neville Chamberlain coming back with the policy of appeasement, and he holds up that letter that's blowing in the wind. This tiny little thin sheet of nothing. It's like tracing paper. He's got I have this piece of tracing paper that I'm going to wave around and say, no more wars. Neville Chamberlain was on the take. Neville Chamberlain wasn't a policy of appeasement. He was in league with Hitler. And they set up a deal. They said, okay, well, we're going to go to war against Poland, and you guys have a treaty with Poland that if they ever get invaded, that you have to honor the treaty and go fight against the people who are invading Poland. Well, Hitler goes and invades Poland on September 1st. Hello, Poland. It's like, September 1st, 1939, Hitler invades Poland. Britain and France declare war on Germany that day. And then they go into this pause, like the suspended animation, that they actually have a term for it, called the phony war. And the phony war is they declared war, but they sat around on their asses and did nothing. The British Expeditionary Force and France, had they, on September 1st, 1939, gone and invaded Germany, from Germany's west, their east, and Germany Poland wasn't a complete. They didn't roll over and play dead. It took them a month, 5 weeks, something like that. It wasn't like they walked in and just said, "Oh, damn, you got us," and just So it took a month, and Germany at the same time is still building up. They had the most sophisticated military in the world of all time, but they didn't have the numbers, especially in retrospect, knowing that they were going to invade Russia and all that kind of stupid ass stuff. But had Britain and France invaded Germany on September 2nd, okay, or give them even a week on September 8th, okay, Germany would have had to pull off enough troops to have either slowed down or perhaps even prevented the outright, conquering of Poland. And the Soviet Union, the pact that they signed with von Rundstedt or whatever, Manstein, or I don't even know who these people are. But Hitler and Stalin signed a non-aggression pact within which they divided Poland in half. Hitler gets, the East, the West, and Soviet Union was supposed to get the East. Now, the Soviet Union was a little slow on the trigger, and Germany did most of the heavy lifting. And I don't know how that wound up, in terms of the final division of spoils. I think Germany was mostly concerned with getting that corridor to Prussia and whatnot established. But had Britain and France invaded like they committed themselves to doing in September of 1939, it was a totally different World War II. They might have even been able to whoop their asses. I'm for serious here. Because, the Wehrmacht was still building up a head of steam. Oh, what does all this mean? I don't know. Why did I go on this tangent to anybody? I keep forgetting my tangents these days. Why the hell I went on them. But the fact is that they were in on it. If they were serious about helping defend Poland, they would have invaded Germany immediately. They waited for like 9 months, and they didn't even wind up invading. I think Germany made the first move, and they go through the lowlands. Jesus Christ, through neutral Belgium and through the Ardennes forests and all that kind of stuff, instead of going up against the Maginot Line and whoop their asses. But this was already 9 months later. What the hell were they doing for 9 months? The thing is, I think it was all a plan. That the Windsor family was in on it, and they intended, certainly couldn't do it in public, because the British still hate, and the French still hated the Germans from World War One. World War One was only 20 years earlier, so they all hate them. They couldn't do it above board, but the Windsor family made sure that they were going to get revenge against the Bolsheviks for killing, I think, Queen Victoria's daughter or something like that. Was one of the Romanovs that they chopped their heads off, and France. So I think that's why France and Britain never fought Germany and all that time, because the plan was to have, like, France just went belly up without even hardly fighting at all, and that's pretty wacky, considering that 20 years earlier they fought it out for 4 years at an unestimable cost, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, whatever, I don't know, you're going to do an end round through the Ardennes forest, whatever, here's Paris, just to, I think that was intentional. So they had all their navy, they had all their army, all their tanks for the most part, all ready to go, and then when they capitulated Germany, they got to be able to use a lot of that stuff to co-opt it for themselves for the pending invasion of Russia, because they needed all that stuff, and they were going to get the French and the British to join in on the invasion of the Soviet Union and conquer communism, get it off the map, so they didn't have to. Well, their true leaders behind the scenes would be able to sleep easy at night and not have to worry about Bolshevik revolutions all over the place. And I'm sure they had some uneasy nights with the Great Depression and communist aggression, both happening at the same time. And that's what triggered them, and by them I mean, the Windsor family, the Krupps, the Harriman family, what's it, CW Post? No, that's the serial guy. JB Powers? No, that's the auto ratings guy. Sloan from General Motors and Henry Ford and all those guys, they were like, it's put up or shut up time, and they pooled the resources. It's 1933. when Hitler takes over. And in 2 years, he's got the most sophisticated army in the world. Somebody had to pony up the bucks for it. And nobody talks about it. Nobody. Not one single movie, historian, nothing talks about where he got that money from. So, Neville Chamberlain is going like, oh, well, it's better to talk, we'll make things, we'll talk about stuff, and it'll be fine, everybody will be fine. It's a really bad British accent. But he was doing it intentionally. Here's the rest of the plan. They're going to get, the Germans are going to back the British Expeditionary Force and the French into a corner. The French gave up, and they were going to get the same from the British Expeditionary Force. And it's 1,000,000,001 that they've got like 300,000 troops, Allied troops and British, sitting in Dunkirk, right? We've all now seen it. There's been, 30, 40 different movies about Dunkirk in the last year. And the Germans stop. All the tanks stop rolling. All the fighting forces just stop for like a few days. Why? Nobody can explain it. Nobody knows. But all of a sudden, they could have been wiped out in probably an hour. They stopped and just chilled out for a little bit. And then, in addition to that, the pending cataclysm of the entire loss of 200, 300,000 troops forced Neville Chamberlain out of power, and they're like, okay, well, we got this Winston Churchill guy. Now, Churchill, prior to World War II, was seen as a leader of epic proportions. He was the Secretary of the Navy, I think it was, Admiral of the Navy, I don't know, a big mucky muck during World War I. He organized and planned out an invasion of Turkey at Gallipoli, and it was a total freaking disaster. Poorly planned, poorly executed, lots of, like bad luck things everything that could go wrong. It's the Murphy's Law of World War I invasions. And so Winston Churchill from that point on was looked at as a complete nincompoop. And they figured they would name Winston Churchill the Prime Minister, so Neville Chamberlain would get out of the way. Winston Churchill would be forced to surrender all the troops of the British Expeditionary Force before they got slaughtered at Dunkirk. And then everybody in England would be like, oh, Winston Churchill, how could you do that? And they'd kick him to the curb, and everybody would believe it because Churchill before was such a ne'er-do-well and was looked upon as a total failure and incompetent. So people would believe that story, and then Neville Chamberlain would float back into power, sign an armistice with Germany. Then it would be, the Axis would have been Germany, Vichy France, and England would have combined their forces and invaded the Soviet Union in 1941. However, Hitler waited too long while they're trying to get Winston Churchill to capitulate, and he had Chamberlain and Halifax were high-level advisors in the British government at that time, and kept telling Churchill to surrender and ask for terms and everything, and Churchill just wouldn't do it. And that's the difference between their plan on paper, is that Churchill do the wrong thing, he'll muck it up, tons of people get killed, and he'll be forced to capitulate. And I guess Hitler waited too long to invade Dunkirk. And I don't know how, still, nobody can explain, no amount of movies and Hollywood trickery will ever make me think that 300,000 guys without air cover and it's stuck on a beach without any place to hide, just stuck on a freaking beach, managed to get all those people off the beachheads with little touring boats and stuff like that. It's impossible without there being like a deal, and I think that they were all in on it. And after the hostilities of World War II ended, none of the people who organized any of this stuff either got the money to Hitler for the Wehrmacht, or got the this little intrigue going to leave Winston Churchill holding the bag, and Britain and France with no recourse but to surrender. When only France surrendered, that whole plan to get them all on board to invade Russia was gone. It was just done. They had to just go wing it from that point. And from that point on, actually, Hitler didn't really have the stomach for it. And Rudolf Hess, who the hell knows what the hell was going on with that? The number 2 guy in all of Nazi Germany steals a plane, flies into England, crashes the plane, and tries to make a deal with the British. Who knows what the hell that was? I mean, it's like right on the eve, right before Operation Barbarossa and the invasion of the Soviet Union. There's stuff going on there, and we have no idea. I don't know, why did I get on the tangent? Anybody know? It's all, it's all just a bunch of lies. And we don't know the truth. Nobody talks about how all that stuff happened, and I mean, none of it makes any sense. Especially not invading to help Poland by opening up a second front in Western Germany during the phony war era. What the hell is going on? All right, so anyway, today's Potomac stuff thinking, yes. Today's top 10 worst stuff list is in part sponsored by Bonsai Pubes. Give your grandparents the ultimate holiday gift with Bonsai Pubes. With Bonsai Pubes, they will carve your pubes into delicate, tiny little bonsai plant stuff. Bonsai Pubes is the top of turn-ons. The turn on, tune out, drop out, drop off. In the future, everyone would be famous for 15 minutes as Bonsai Pubes. And then you've got also sponsored by blood-sucking tax consultants. Have you been to a tax consultant that seemed totally detached from you and didn't want to make that extra effort to put your mind at ease that they were truly on the same team with you? At blood-sucking tax consultants, have no fear, for once they start to feast on your vital fluids, there will be no mistaking that the two of you are invariably connected for all of eternity. It's blood-sucking tax consultants. Plus, they've got, probably about 90% or something of refunds the regular guys without the blood-sucking. And from the producers of Friday the 13th, it's Thursday the 12th. It's just a bunch of people walking around. Nothing really happens. Pretty, college kids talking about the vacation they're going to start the next day. Whatever. It's Thursday the 12th, God damn it. All right, here we go. All right, now, do you have the rules of the game set in your mind? Top 10 worst jerkoffs versus sellouts. I'm going to read a description of a poser, slime ball, monster, whatever it's going to be. And your goal is to figure out whether this person is a jerkoff or a sellout. Are they looking for the big payday? Or are they just nasty little pig dogs? Nasty ass, oh, shucks. Repellent, varmints. Sorry, I was looking at my adjective cheat sheet. All right, so here we go. Number 10. The top 10 worst jerkoffs versus sellouts. Jerkoff or sellout? In the 1972 presidential race, when George McGovern chose U.S. Senate member Thomas Eagleton from Missouri as his running mate, did he know Eagleton was diagnosed as a clinical psychotic with a death wish and just choose him as a sneaky way to throw the election? Or was he just the world's biggest lazy sad sack jerkoff for not even bothering to vet his vice presidential nominee? Either way, his choice reigns a landmark mistake in political history. So was George McGovern, his choice of a cyclitic little psychotic with a death wish. I mean, how bad of a vetting job. I mean, I get pissed off about Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, bringing in Jonathan Majors. What was the vetting process with that? He turned out to have like a really bad, temper or whatever he was doing, like beating women. I don't know. So I never really fully. I never saw it come out. He was abusing women though, wasn't he? On a few occasions. And that's enough to piss me off. But here's a guy who everybody was praying. Richard Nixon was just as hated in terms of per capita hatred as Trump was. And George McGovern had the, everybody on the left was praying that George McGovern would be the guy. And then he's doing okay. He sort of clawed his way through the primary season to get over the Hubert Humphrey hump. The Humphrey hump. The Humphrey hump is the chance. Do the hump. Yeah. Do the Humphrey hump. Do the Humphrey hump. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. He had to, I mean, how could you be that bad? It's almost like saying, okay, because like the bomb at that point was like, kind of still like people were like, oh, he's got the bomb, man. Like people envisioned the bomb as being a suitcase with a key, and the president or the guy in charge could like get the key and get the code and then just launch the freaking warheads. Like it didn't seem to have a fail-safe system will kind of slow that process down to make sure everybody's on the same page with it. So at that point, it was much more of and you just had gotten over the Cuban Missile Crisis. Had been 10 years earlier. It wasn't that far in the rear view window at that point. And they got the guy, Thomas Eagleton. How crazy. I know they didn't have no internets and nothing like that. But how could you not know that the guy was absolutely out of his freaking gourd? That he, with the bomb around like that, to add in that whole angle of his having a death wish made it especially disturbing. So, McGovern was sunk after that. That was the end of his campaign. He blew it. But, the rumor was that he was so gung-ho on trying to get Ted Kennedy to be his vice president. But Kennedy told him right off the bat, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tie myself to you. I mean, Chappaquiddick made me a total loser first of all, but I might be able to recover from it at some point. I'm not going to tie myself to your stupid ass as your second fiddle. No, thank you. So supposedly, McGovern threw his eggs into the Teddy K basket and didn't even bother to vet Eagleton at all or anybody. They're just like, oh, okay, fine, he won't do it. Let's get some sad sack out of the Senate. And they got Eagleton, and then there you go. It destroyed his election campaign to the point where he only won one state in the 72 election. Nixon won 49 states in the 72 election. God damn it. So was he, here we go, are you ready? Here we go. Was he a jerkoff or sellout? Deuce, 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 deuce. That's it. The correct answer is that he was a sellout. Absolutely. Nobody's that dumb. Frickin' sellout. Stupid people. Sellout, you bitch ass nobodies. Alright, here we go. Number 9. See how it works? How many of you got, let's throw hands, how many of you guessed sellout? All the Democrats are sellouts. If I ever ask any more questions in this quiz with a focus on Democrats screwing things up, the answer is always going to be sellout. Because that's what they are. Democrats sold us out, man. It's a one-party state. Is it that really difficult for you to see how much of a one-party state we live in, how much the Democrats have sold out to the same goddamn ruling elite robber barons that the Republicans sold out to? As soon as Richard Nixon got a hold of him, became the leader of the party. What a party. Imagine we're going to a party that Richard Nixon threw. How horrible that would be. Nixon would like to kill your sister and grunge plow your sister-in-law. Was it Nixon? I want to kill everyone and sell out to the Nazi shadow fascists. All right, jerk off or sell out. Let's see how good your listening is. Hillary Clinton destroying national health. That's it for that. The correct answer is, I tried to tell you, any Democrats can show, but it's got to be sellout. It's sellout. Goddamn right, it's sellout. All Hillary Clinton in 1993, when Hillary and Bill came into power, they had both houses of the Congress, and people were down for giving national health a try, single payer system. All Hillary had to do was say Medicare for all, we would have had national health for 40 freaking years or whatever it's been. And instead she comes up with a big phone book plan. It's literally the size of a gigantic phone book. For those of you who don't remember a phone book, it was a book about like this yay big and stuff like that, with every name of everybody in the city and businesses and all stupid ass stuff. And that was the size of her plan. Nobody even read it. It never came up for a vote. And Hillary had no experience in healthcare, no experience in Washington, no experience with red tape and congressional matters, anything like that, trying to pass laws or anything like that. Zero. And we all need to ask the question before we continue to let the fifth column operatives of Bill and Hillary extinguish progressive liberalism for keeps. We have to ask why they did that. We need an answer. Why did she do that? She walks around, blah, 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 Hillary Clinton. She doesn't campaign behind the blue wall in any of the blue wall states in 2016. Says, Texas is in play. I'm going to go campaign in Texas. She lost Texas by 9 freaking points. And lost all the blue wall states, too. Plausible deniability was enough for people wanting to believe that there was equal representation for them in the halls of power, and they never even could conceive of the fact that they were getting stabbed in the back, and that's why we all fail, and that's why everything seems so bad and desperate and dark. Our future seems like we're helpless against the steamrolling of the human frickin' race. Goddamn sellout is right, you frickin' ball sniffers. Number 8, jerkoff or sellout. Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah forcing the passage of a bill that intentionally forced doctors to increase opioid prescriptions a couple of years before the Afghani war and move there's some it's like a pain-free America or some stupid ass that they gave the name to the bill, and a move that made it seem like it was trying to get more Americans hooked on narcotics right in time for the big infusion of CIA drug cartels that came subsequent to our takeover of the Afghani poppy fields. And hey, just as an extra little credit thing here, notice how the Americans walked away from the Afghani poppy fields the minute they were able to secure Golden Triangle fentanyl as the main imported opiate. Did you notice that? Did you see that? Did you connect the dots? Of course not. And people are like, oh, well, but Biden fell asleep at the wheel and left all those billions of dollars worth of weapons with the Afghanis. And, oh, God, we must destroy them, destroy all the rebels. I'm quite sure that the weapons that Joseph Biden left behind in the evacuation of the Afghani poppy fields was quite on purpose, yes, because what were the Afghans going to do? They took over the government 2 seconds later, but they still needed to defend their borders and stuff like that, keep the Chinese from invading or the Russians from invading again and stuff like that, and having no weapons to fight back with? 0 weapons before they could get their act together? There was only so many, caves in, what was that cave territory that they hid around in? Afghani cave land, whatever. There's only so many caves there, and even because they were able to hide in those caves for 20 years without any access to weaponry and still defeat the so-called U.S. most powerful army in history world for 20 years with no weapons, stuck in a bunch of caves. But, I almost had it too. God damn it. Tora Bora. A bunch of people living in caves and supposedly, according to our American media, had no support, nobody feeding them any sort of even food or anything like that, and just managed to by their own wits and guile fight the enormous U.S. Army to a stalemate, and then win the war essentially when the U.S. Army walked. No way. Either they would have reported, they would have found out who was supplying them with weapons and food and testing. Frickin' Bin Laden was on a dialysis. You can't find a 6'6" tall Arabian man on dialysis. It took him 10 years or whatever the hell they took him. 16 years? At least 16 years, because Obama. So that's after, no. Oops. At least 7 years. Doi. I'm a douche. Alright, so, Orrin Hatch rams through a law that states that all doctors have to prescribe more opiates. I'm serious. Look this up. Don't trust me. I beg you, plead you not to trust me. And look this up. It's crazy. And it's something like American getting pain meds bill. So they're feeding them opiates, getting them all hooked in advance of the invasion of Afghanistan. So by the time that Orrin Hatch was force feeding this bill through Congress, they already knew there was going to be a takeover of the Afghani fields. The same type of thing that when Dick Cheney takes control of Halliburton and does a bunch of moves, including the purchase of KBR, that made Halliburton the perfect corporation for that no-bids contract, multi-billions of dollars contract with the U.S. Army, the first company in history to ever privatize the functions of war. Do you not get any of this stuff? Are you following along with me? And how, man, if I was your teacher and stuff, and I would be so disappointed in you. I would think about wrapping you on the necklace with a ruler. I really would. I mean, I don't really care at this point about slapping you around a little bit with the track record that you've shown. It's just, piteous. I tell you, I'm totally oblivious of the stuff that's going on. It's right out in front of you. So, Orrin Hatch, Jerkoff, or Sellout? Sellout. Sellout! All these pricks are sellouts. Number 7, Jerkoff and sellout. Why Ashley Graham recently said that GLP-1 trend is a smack in the face to the body positive movement. Body positivity movement. Is this proof positive that people don't care about health anymore? And also it confirms that, in reality, that looks are everything. Either that or like Ashley Graham's a total prick. I don't know, man. But if GLP-1s are getting people thin and heart attacks, I think, are the number one. They're right up there near the top of the cause of death of people in the United States, and a lot of pain, suffering, and infirmity and expense. And obesity, like I'm very close to that particular issue. And I'll take, some healthier way of getting myself out of this bind if I could. I can't get approval for any of that stuff. I don't know why, but I can't. So, but I would take, because I'm like teetering right on the edge, man. I could have a thrombo. I've been on borderline thrombos on this show before through my vast, seemingly inexhaustive energy and ability to make a total fool out of myself. Let me show you. And let me get a... Damn, another false positive. But Ashley Graham, what the hell's wrong with you? You don't want people to be healthy? You're saying that it's better to be okay with your obesity than it is to be healthy? Huh? I mean, this is taking it too freaking far. Do you not see the incongruities with a position like that? Personally, I'm Ashley Graham. Look, I got a whole products line and stuff like that. I want people fat. I don't want them happy about being fat, so they don't go nosing around at the doctors asking for a diet plan and lifestyle reevaluation. God damn it! There's a lot of people's jobs relying on me keeping people fat, loving the fatness. Yes. Is that what the body positivity movement is? Because I get it. I mean, I dig it, for people that are stuck. Obviously, I am stuck. I'm eating my feelings. I'm in a lot of pain all the time. And I don't have a lot of other gratification systems to be able to get those endorphins pumping so that I can handle the amount of pain that I'm in. And so I eat. I don't drug. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do any of that stuff. The only real vice I have is eating too much, too late, too young to fall in love. Too young to fall in love. Too late, too little, too late, too much, and too young to fall in love. Wow. It makes me feel, though, that, Ashley Graham, in a desperation to try to save her, I'm sure she's looking at whatever sales or talking fees or wherever she's making her money, it's going to be plummeting from this GLP-1 drug thing. I'm positive. There's too many people who can get approved, unlike yours truly. So she doesn't seem to care about health anymore, and she's also confirming that looks are everything in her book, because she's like trying to tell people that being okay with the way you look is more important than actually being healthy. So what do you got there? What do you got there? Da da douche. La 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 Wow, 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 wow. Oh, that's it. So what's the correct answer? Ashley Graham is Jerkoff or sellout? She is a jerkoff. Jerkoff. Jerk out. What was that? Morris Day in the Time? Prince. Jerk out. Wow. Gives the balls a little bit of baby who's almost out 17. That's the jam. But you do boo. Number 6. Jerkoff or sellout. LBJ bailing on the Democratic Party in March of 1968 and saying he's not going to seek, I'm not going to seek, I'm not going to accept, nor will I gently cup the balls of a Democratic Party nomination for president. March of 1968. He waits till March. What a peasant. All right, so LBJ bailing in March of 1968, leaving just a few months. And Nixon, by that point, had been campaigning for, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. Let's see. Oh, do, eat my beans. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 do. This douchebag. Suck my gourd. Alright, so that's all time we got for that one. LBJ. Sellout or jerkoff or sellout? The correct answer is, in all reality, it's actually, I would accept either answer. It's a little column A and a little column B. But overall, sellout. I think he made a deal. LBJ is one of the biggest jerkoffs of all time. A total freaking closeted Dixiecrat. He sent those, all the civil rights acts and stuff like that as building on the legacy of JFK. He was sort of obligated to do that to kind of keep up appearances and whatnot. Because, if he would have abandoned all those issues and just, let his Dixiecrat freak flag fly, people could have talked a little bit more about, because this is all about, the reassertion of the closet Nazi empire as a clandestine shadow government in the United States. And to get LBJ on board for the big win, they said, well, we'll let you be president for the balance of JFK's year, and then we'll give you the 1964 election. We'll throw Barry Goldwater. He's such a radical jerk-off that nobody will ever vote for the guy. And you'll beat his ass and make it look good in the history books. And then you'll have a full term as president. But we need you to walk out, not just walk out of the 68 election, but we need you to walk out in such a way as to make it impossible for the Democrats to win. And he did. And he sucked the big chub right down the throat, breathing through the nose like a goddamn human didgeridoo. Just like, LBJ, chowing meat. Like nobody's business. I mean, just look at the freaking Warren Commission that LBJ named. It's 7 guys who hated John F. Kennedy. 4 Republicans. There's a Republican balance to the goddamn Warren Commission, including Nixon's best friend, Earl Warren, who bailed him out after the checker speech and the whole immoral slush fund thing back in the 52 election. And then you get, the Democrats around there, like Dixiecrats, like Hale Boggs, stuff like that. And you get Gerald Ford who pardoned Nixon, unconditional pardon at the end of his presidency. And Allen Dulles, who's one of the biggest sadistic monsters in the history of mankind, who had just been fired by JFK, is on the freaking Warren Commission? Are you freaking kidding me? LBJ, sellout, man. Sellout! Stella! Number 5, jerkoff, sellout. Beyonce was brought in to sing the national anthem at Obama's second inauguration. True story. But she lip-synced it, didn't she? She sure did. She lip-synced. Sorry. She lip-synced the goddamn national anthem at a presidential inauguration. Not just a presidential inauguration, but let's be honest. It was the second term, but was still the first black president in the history of the most racist nation in the history of all nations. And she lip-synced. Just think about how just awful that is. So what was she? Jerkoff or sellout? Douche, 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 douche bag. Douche, 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 douche. Where am I? It's not getting weird. Yeah. Beyonce's a total freaking sellout, man. Sellout. One of the worst in history. I got my Nubian nose and I got my hot sauce in my purse. You don't have no hot sauce in your purse, Beyonce. Maybe in your full-time traveling chef's purse, if they have a purse, or belly bag. You ever see that Uncle Grandpa? That stuff's hilarious. Pizza Steve. Hi, I'm Pizza Steve. I love Uncle Grandpa. Sorry. I'm an infantile jerk-off myself. And a sellout. No, not really. I never had opportunity to sell out. I would blowjob my way to the top if anybody would give me the time of day. Oops. I dropped an F-bomb right there. Oopsie boom. Hey. I need to get my co-host. Cheapest. Oof is right. Oh, I'll try to fix that in the mix. Jerkoff or sellout? Number 4. When ultra-right ABC News commentator George Will was said to have stolen President Carter's notes in advance of the 1980 presidential debates. This is a real thing, by the way. You can look this one up, too. George Will, it's a legend to have and likely did steal President Carter's notes in advance of the presidential debates and gave it to the Reagan campaign, probably Bush Sr. Did Carter and his team sell out to help make it easier for George Will, to obtain the notes? Or were they just a bunch of jerkoffs who let those essential notes get pilfered by an on-air news reporter, jerkoff, hardcore right-winger? Pig dog, George Will. Here we go. Douche, douche, douche bag. You're a douche. Deep, 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 slip. Damn. Close. It's, again, there's all the Democrats. Anytime I mention Democrats, it's going to be a sellout. Getting paid. Carter was one of the biggest sellouts of all time. Doesn't investigate Watergate. The Operation Eagle, whatever, terror to release to free the hostages. You're in a house. It doesn't even get off the goddamn ground. Gives the Malays speech. We're saying that the main cause of America's decline is because the malaise that's caused by not having any strong leaders. When he was the leader of the freaking country, while he was president. Look at what we got here is bad leadership. Bad leadership in the country. I know that when saying that, I'm admitting that I'm a bad leader because I'm the leader. Don't you know? What is this, the malaise? Got the malaise. I like the malaise on my turkey sandwich, BLT. Little mayonnaise I put on the top of it. I'm looking to put it on both sides of the bread. It's greasy. When I'm trying to eat the malaise BLTs, I got some malaise sauce. Who just does that stuff? Letting Reagan get his notes? And we're supposed to believe that that's the guy with the nuclear football? I lost nuclear football, put mayonnaise on. Nuclear football like a nice greasy suitcase. Uh-huh. Like your cookie table and playing the fiends. No, you can't even comment on what I'm saying half the time. And again, brings in Billy Carter, who's like getting stoned in alleys, drinking. They named a beer after the guy. It's just I'm not going to get into the whole Carter bashing thing. He's got a date with Destiny with top 10 worst ofs though. I tell you that it's coming. Carter, I'm coming for you. It's Get Carter. Sliced Stallone. I put mayonnaise on Sliced Stallone to make the movie Get Carter. Number 3, Jerkoff or Sellout. The Dems covering up Biden's health decline in 2024, the 2024 election. This is my imitation of Joseph Biden at the 2024 presidential debate. So what is it? Douchebag, douchebag. You're a douchebag, douche. That's enough time for you. It's always going to be sellout. The Democrats are in on it. The fix is in. It's a one-party state. The hell's wrong with you? Why are you sleeping since? Why am I ringing the goddamn bell so much? Number 2, Jerkoff or Sellout. The Iranian revolutionaries in 1979 held on to the U.S. hostages they took for over a year and only released them on the exact day that Ronald Reagan was inaugurated president. On the same day, while he's being inaugurated president, the Iranian revolutionaries are releasing the hostages. That was probably the main issue that cost Carter a re-election. Now keep in mind, while this is going on with George Bush Sr. sort of like manning the steering wheel behind the scenes for all this stuff, former head of the CIA, pictures of him exist in front of the Texas Book Depository on the day of JFK's assassination. The main thing to remember is that it took less than 4 years after Watergate revealed all this criminality that's going on in the Republican Party and the head of the Republican Party and everything like that. Less than 4 years, they're back in not just power again, but power that they never dreamed of. So that said, what do you think? Jerkoff or Sellout? The answer is sellouts. Yeah, the Iranian revolutionaries were in on it. I think that whole revolution was probably a second Iranian coup by the CIA, and that the Iran itself was modified with that revolution to become the new boogeyman, because the Soviets were kind of at that point running out of steam. 1979, Soviets were involved in getting their asses whooped in the Afghani war of their own, and there were signs that the Soviet Union was likely to collapse in the very near future. The military-industrial complex needed a new boogeyman, and that's why I believe that they threw a second Iranian revolution, which was just a show revolution, and stuffed in those radical-seeming guys. The guys were probably chill, just like going along with the flow. They gave them a printing press so they could print their own money. The Iranians had a U.S. Treasury printing press to print their own money. And then just and all the proxies and everything like that, Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah and the Yemenis, the Houthis, and all indirectly U.S. proxies. And don't tell me that the U.S. hasn't paid for both sides of a war to fight each other as just a political showpiece. We were in the Iran-Contra thing. We were selling arms to Iran, and there's a famous picture of Donald Rumsfeld shaking hands with Saddam after he's selling arms to Iraq. So we were selling arms, if nothing else, on both sides of that war. In World War II, we were selling arms on both sides of that war. General Motors / Opel and Ford both had converted their car factories in Germany to the production of war materiel in advance of the war, in advance of converting the factories in the United States. Why they even built factories in Germany during the early days of the, I guess, 30s, late 20s, 30s. So instead of building them here during the height of the recession and just shipping the cars over to Germany is anybody's guess. But irregardless, right at you. Webster's. Take that, Webster's dictionary. Throughout the entire World War II, the Ford plant and the GM plant both remained in full production of war material and tanks and all that kind of stuff that they were churning out that Nazi Germany was using, and they kept the same managers in place and kept extracting profits the entire time. And so they got factories in the United States that are building arms for the Allies, and they've got factories in Germany that are building arms for the Nazis. So they're making it from both ends. We're making all the war material from both ends in World War II. Get over yourselves. Come on board for the big win. Join top 40 worst of lists. I've got, maybe not all the answers for you, but I got really strong hypotheses that I think will lead you into situations where you can, minimize the impact on your TV watching schedule and still get some answers out of life. And maybe live their lives a little bit more productive in the end days of the human race while we wait for the AI robots to come in and slaughter us. And finally, number 1, jerk off or sellout. When Supreme Court Justice John Roberts screwed up the oath of office at Barack Obama's first inauguration, was he a racist jerk who did it so him and his, other closet Nazi buddies could laugh over it forever? Or was he a sellout with some Illuminatus agenda to ruin it for all the people that thought they saw the inauguration for the first black man to become president of the most racist country in history? What was it? Was he jerk-off or sellout? Did jerk-off or sellout? Eat my nuts. The correct answer was, of course, both. It's, probably sellouts. Hey, what the hell? For that particular type of sellout, you got to be a jerk-off to begin with. All right, that's all the time we got for top 10 worst stuffs. What an incredible experience this was. Like a game show version of top 10 worst stuff lists. The first, a goddamn miracle of ingenuity and creativity. Oh, my head. Oh, I'm getting too excited. The thrombo. Another false positive. All right, well, anyway, so tune in again next time for top 10 worst stuff list. It's an incredible experience that we can have. Once again, so many great things going on in the world, and mostly bad things, though. So that's what top 10 worst list is, the vanguard of the modern, cultural ecumene is prepared to offer us. Top 10 worst stuff is out in front of it as we descend into a rapidly spiraling abyss. So come on back tomorrow, I guess it's tomorrow for top 10 worst of ingredients in discount hot dogs. Oh my, you're not going to want to miss that one. I might even do a taste demonstration. Maybe I'll do a solo. I'm doing this on July 4th. Maybe I'll do a solo hot dog eating contest. July 4th is when they do the big Nathan's hot dog eating contest with, Jeff Garland or whatever that guy's name was. The guy's name, Andy Chestnut. Snarf, 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 snarf. It's like, I think I can keep up with that guy. Because he does like about 80 something, 90 dogs, something like that. And I think you got to do it in like 10 minutes. I can do 90 dogs in freaking 10 minutes. But I do mine different. I do mine buns first. I just go eat all the buns, 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 and then that makes the sliding the dogs just go right down without the buns. Bring on Andy Chestnut, Johnny Chestnut, whatever that dumbass is. Anyway, that's all the time we got. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this. I feel so deeply connected with